All right, I got this panel here again. I went and sized it up again, and I have more than ½ inch of overlap. I've actually got it cut in the truck to right about there. Cut it, this from there out on the truck. So I'm going to come back, and I'm going to trim just shy of that all along here and see how much better that fits up. And I'm going to trim this end down a little bit too. So it's been a little while since I've given an update on Roscoe. I've got this patch panel here trimmed. I'm about to start tacking it in. And, I realized that when I was welding in the posts here, I was having some trouble with the welding. And I got to talking to an outlaw-in-law, stepchild-in-law kind of thing, person, good guy. He's been a welder for a long time, and he kind of clued me in on some of the things I was doing wrong. First off, my welding tip. I tend to not change out my welding tip too often, and honestly, I do a lot of just playing around welding up goofy stuff, and so I usually run a 35 thousandths tip with 25 thousandths wire, or 24 thousandths, whatever the size is. And he said if you're welding thin sheet metal, it absolutely matters to have the correct size tip. Now, part of the reason why some people run a larger tip is to keep it from sticking. Well, if it's sticking, your tip's old. My welder just came with a handful of tips, and so I never really thought of them, them being something you dispose of regularly. And he says when he was welding, every day he'd have a new tip on his welder. Of course, he was welding for an entire 8-hour day, but still. So I've got a new tip on there. It's 24 thousandths to match the wire. And he said get some tip gel. And so I've got this here to dip my tip in. Whenever you've got it, you've done a little bit of welding, you get the tip nice and warm, you just dip the nozzle right into this stuff, and it keeps it from sticking, makes your tip last. He said the tips would last twice as long with nozzle gel. So I got some of that. I'm probably going to turn down my pressure. I've been running 40 psi as I'm welding, and I'm seeing on some other videos where they run a lower pressure whenever they're welding thinner metal. And I might try slowing down the welder and the heat a little bit if it seems like it's trying to blow through. So anyways, I'm going to tack this in and see how it goes. Alright, so far it's pretty much a horror show of bad tack welding. Fitting it here in the middle is pretty good. Out towards the ends I'm going to have to do some bending to get it to match up, but the ends are lined correctly. It took some work. And then I realized I'm off on my lines right here in the middle because I trimmed off of this end to get the piece to match side to side. So yeah, those guys who do this on YouTube and show you how easy it is, they're full of crap. They've done this stuff for years. But I'm getting there. It's not going to be the world's prettiest truck again, but it's going to be a good work truck. So, and this is how I learned to do. This is how I'm going to learn to do this, so that whenever it comes time to do something pretty, I'll have a little more experience at it. I gotta say though, trying to tack weld this stuff upside down, not fun. Like I said, it's a horror show of bad welding. Turning down the welder a bit and lowering gas pressure and running that good nozzle helped. Yep, so I'll get there. I'm going to put some more tacks on this, but I'm probably going to wrap up for the day because it's starting to sprinkle and rain. I really don't want to be welding in the rain. So, alright, it's supposed to be raining today, but it's not, so I'm out here welding. You can see I've gotten most of the welding done. I've just got some sections here. The places where the fitment was good and tight, the welding went nice and smooth. I had some trouble getting the cuts straight along this area here, and so the gaps are pretty bad. I'm having to work to fill those in, and of course, you gotta go a little slower when you're filling in, so the heat is what's keeping me from getting these filled in. I gotta say that when you're welding overhead like this, wear an apron. I was welding earlier and a piece of slag went through my shirt, through my pants, burned me in a place I don't want to get burned. Wear a leather apron when you're doing this. This is nearly done. When I clean it up, I'm not going to try to get it to look, I'm not going to try to grind it down to it looks like it's, never been welded on. I'm going to leave the seam showing. I'm just going to grind the welds a little flatter. I did have to build up right there a little bit. There's a little gap down here, right there. And I welded that up. I'm going to have to grind that smooth. And I'm looking at these welds from the outside. You can see there's an awful lot of welding here sticking up. So, I'm learning. But altogether, I think it's coming together well. The gaps look like they're going to be good. The fitment whenever I get this other piece in. So that's where I'm at. Fitness also does play a role when you're doing this. You can see the cab here. I'm 6 foot tall, so I've got to crouch down to get in here to weld. And I can only crouch for so long before my legs start cramping and hurting. If I were working out more, I would probably have an easier time with this. I hadn't been working out a whole lot lately, so I'm having to take a break every 15-20 minutes and stretch my legs. But if you start cramping up, shut it down, get out, walk around a bit, you know, take care of yourself. Don't try to muscle on through it and end up hurting yourself. All right, the welding's done. Man, it is ugly, but you know, I don't have years of experience at this. And if you're new to this stuff yourself and you see all these YouTube videos making it look really easy, know what you're in for. I've got to do the grinding next, and honestly, my shoulder's hurting. I need to take a break for a while, so it may be later today, maybe tomorrow. I got a church function this afternoon, but hopefully I can get the grinding done and get it on this video. If not, it'll be on the next.